All right, welcome back to another F150 video. This applies to all 2015 and up F150s. So I'm going to continue on my modification schedule here, and I'm going to be doing another interior upgrade today. All right, so if you watched my previous video, you've seen that I've already upgraded to the Sync 3 stereo system from the base model. Well, it's base model with regular sync. And then today I'm going to be making another upgrade to the instrument cluster. So you see I've just got the 2-inch base model instrument cluster in this truck. It doesn't even have the 4-inch, it's that little tiny box of a screen instrument cluster. And it does give you all the information you need. Which is why I won't just upgrade, for relatively inexpensively, you can upgrade to an XLT style 4-inch cluster, but I'm going straight to the Lariat 8-inch instrument cluster. You can buy these if you want to spend a ton more money. You can buy this instrument cluster ready to drop into your truck. There are sellers on eBay who will program the mileage. They'll program your VIN number in, which basically means they're going to find your as-built data from Ford, and they're going to program the cluster. That way it's ready just to pop right in your truck. But I'm here to tell you, you can save hundreds of dollars by doing this yourself with inexpensive tools. So as always, I'll be using the free program called ForScan and a cheap OBD2 scan tool that plugs into the truck to do everything we need with this cluster, including changing the mileage. So I'm going to start by saying that with ForScan now, you actually can change the mileage on instrument clusters in the 2015 and up F150. You can only raise the mileage, you cannot lower it. So why is this important? Well, the mileage is stored in the instrument cluster. So if you go on eBay and find yourself a used instrument cluster or one from a junkyard, make sure they tell you what the mileage is, because it needs to be less than the mileage that's in your truck. If you get a cluster with higher mileage than what your truck has, there's no way to roll it back. Well, no legal way, and there's no way that we'll cover in this video to roll it back. There are ways. But you could send it off and have it programmed to match the mileage on your truck. Some people will do that. But I'm going to show you how we can do it all on the up and up with ForScan. So it's important before we remove the old instrument cluster. There's a few things we need to do with ForScan. What we're going to do is we're going to inhale the data from the cluster that we have in the truck. So before you start removing anything, we're going to have to hook up the scan tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to read all of the programming configuration from our instrument cluster. And then basically when we put our new one in, it won't work correctly until we upload all of that data into this one to tell it how to behave with our truck. Also, make sure you write down your mileage, because the mileage will not change over. Like I said, the mileage is always stored in here. There's no way to just inhale that data and put it in here. We're going to have to just update the mileage on this cluster. So make sure just before you remove your old cluster that you write down your mileage. All right, then plug my scan tool in here. So I will leave a link in the description to a inexpensive Elm scan tool that you can purchase that I know works really well. The one I'm using in this video is a little more expensive. It's a pass-through device that works as a Ford VCM2, but it also works with ForScan. So we'll go ahead and load up ForScan here. And then we'll turn our key forward. Go ahead and connect to our vehicle. It's just saying make sure the key's on. So this is going to take a minute. It's got to connect to all the different modules. It's going to read any codes that you might have, and then it will ask if you've connected previously. If you want to load the previous session, always click no to start a new session. All right, so now that we're through that, we're going to go here. We're going to click on our configuration and programming button. And what we want is the IPC. You can see we have two options, and we want the IPC module configuration as built format. So select that, hit the play button. Just gives us a warning that changing this information is unsafe. Click OK. All right, so this is all the data right here that we want to save. So we're going to go down here. You can see where it says Save All. So this is what's in our instrument cluster now. So Save All. And what we're going to do is we're going to title it something we understand. So in my case, 2015. Say F150. Say IPC. I'll call it the default programming. And put a date. Just so I know what it is later. Okay, so I'm going to save that. So that is successful. So basically, if you haven't changed anything on your truck, you've just saved your as-built data. So you could, if you had access to the Ford service website and you downloaded the as-built information for your instrument panel cluster, it's going to give you a bunch of hex codes like this. That way, if you had a new one, you would have to manually enter all these codes and flash it. The cool thing is, now with ForScan, you can load the factory as-built data, as you can see, which I'm not going to do here. But if I click it, it will change some of these things. But for our sake, we're not going to obviously save that. But just in case maybe you didn't know what your as-built data should be, they've added that feature where it will look it up for you. So really, really handy. So for now, I'm going to stop. We've saved our data. I'm going to stop. I go back here, click the I button. Then I'm going to go down here. I'm going to disconnect from the vehicle. And I'm going to just close out of here for a second. Go ahead and turn our ignition off. Go ahead and pull this down. One over here. All right, now this, we'll just grab it with a couple fingers and kind of pull both sides. Just be careful, there's clips. And it sometimes helps to drop the steering wheel. And if it telescopes, pull it out. And you may have to actually put the truck in gear. Do that, I'll just turn the key forward. Drop the shifter, and then there's this little rubber piece. I can get a shot with the camera here to show you. It is clipped. I'll show you once I get it off of here. Put this back in gear and turn it off. So if we look, you see these little rubber clips, these little plastic clips. That's what holds the rubber to the wheel. So now that that is removed, we'll set it aside. And then we should have 4 7mm. So we've got one here, one over here, and then one right here, and one over here. So go ahead and take all these out. Then our instrument cluster will come out. There's one connection on the back that we have to unclip. Alright, so now this should just pop right out. Reach around to the back. Alright, so that just came right out, like I said. If you look at the back, there's just this one little tab you press right here and then pull that out and it comes right out. So same thing to put the new one in. Set you up right here. So it's a little tight since I don't have a telescoping steering wheel. But just reach back in here. I'm gonna reach back in here and plug this in. I just heard my subwoofer turn on in the back of the truck when I plugged that in. Have to get in at just the right angle. Alright. So obviously we'd put our screws back in and get everything going, but for the purposes of the video, we're going to make sure that everything works first. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the key forward. So you can see the mileage in this cluster is 144,000. That's what the listing said when I bought it. I'm going to turn the keys forward here. All right, so surprisingly, see blind spot system fault, cross traffic system fault, trailer brake module fault. So these are all of the issues, obviously, that you'll run into if you just plug it in without flashing your as-built data, because it thinks there's supposed to be a blind spot system, supposed to be a cross traffic system. I just have my XL truck, so I don't have these things installed. Now, one thing that I've noticed that was weird about my old cluster, it did have a trailer brake controller system turned on. So I don't know if the previous owner installed a trailer brake controller and then removed it before they got rid of the truck, but it is an issue with mine. So I may have to turn that option off, even though it is turned on in the as-built data that I just inhaled. So now we're going to go ahead and reconnect to ForeScan, and I'll show you how to flash that information that we downloaded into here. That way everything works good. All right, so I'm waiting for the computer to boot back up here. While I'm doing that, I thought I'd show you something kind of cool. So here in my navigation, hope if I knew what I was doing. All right, so I select home, select a spot, and then hit go. You can see that it actually shows
and then the route guidance will start.
Your navigation information on the screen. So everything communicates with each other, which I think is pretty cool. So we're gonna go back into ForeScan again. Again, we're gonna go through the process of connecting to our vehicle. Again, it's gonna go through, it's gonna find a bunch of problems, and you're gonna have a bunch of new error codes for your IPC module. All right, once we're loaded up, again, like I said, if I click our DTC, it says lost, select now here, lost communication with trailer brake control module. As we know, lost communication with the side obstacle control module. Just some of the reasons why you can't just plug it and go. So again, we're gonna click on module programming. If we go to IPC, module configuration as built format, warning message. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and save these, just because if we ever mess something up, we can put it back to the way it was. So I'm going to click save all, and we'll do F150 8-inch IPC default settings, and we save that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to load, click load all, and remember the file we created a few minutes ago, so we want, let's see, this one, the 2015 IPC default 8.2 of 21. So double click on that. All of our numbers changed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click write all, and this will change all the settings. So write all. This action will completely rewrite the module configuration. Are you sure? Yes. You're going to see some stuff happen. It's going to tell you to cycle off, back on, click the OK switch. All right, so driver's door jar, yeah, we know that. So there, see, we can see we have no more problems. Okay. Just like that. We still have all the functions that we should. And you can configure the My View screens, which there's so much to go over. I'm not going to go over all of this, but there's a lot of neat stuff you can do. There's our tow haul, sport. Okay, so let's go here. Let me get back. Just kind of go through stuff real quick. There's our tire pressure, digital speedometer, oil life and such. Let's see, towing status, off-road status. That's just your angle and stuff. Settings. We can turn our rear park aid on and off. That's a function we have. So that is all there is to it. We're up and running again. Just on my 2015. That's all you have to do as far as that goes. Okay, so now we're going to fix our mileage. So remember, you wrote down your mileage. I want to have the ignition on. We're going to stop at this function here. We're going to go to configuration and programming. We're going to go to odometer right. Now remember, it says this function is only necessary on newly installed instrument clusters. It will allow the original odometer reading to be written to a new instrument cluster. It is not possible to overwrite a value lower than one already recorded. Mistakes can only be corrected by installing a new instrument cluster. I highly suggest you take this advice strongly and be very careful with what you enter here, because you could put 1,000,000 miles on your truck if you want. So please specify the car odometer units. So we'll say here in the United States, I want miles. Click OK. So it says current mileage 144,948. So if you wrote down your mileage from before, remember, you can go up, but you cannot go down. All right, so if you wrote down your mileage, in my case, we're 186,021. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. It says, are you sure? I click yes. You can see it says 186,015. So got it close, and that is a common thing. They said that it may be a few miles per hour off after it flashes. You can even see on here it says 186,020. So we have now rewritten our mileage. Okay, so there's one last thing we have to do depending on the year. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to turn it back on. All right. Now, this last function that I'm going to do, I believe you only have to do it on the later model trucks. So like my 2015, you don't really need to do this. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a module relearn procedure. So right here, the PCM, module initialization, relearn vehicle data. So we're going to click play. And really, this is only necessary if, as you see, you have a DTC P160A. It will detect a mismatch in configuration data, such as the VIN, tire size, axle ratio, etc., between the PCM or TCM, which is the transmission control module, and the body control module. It can occur when a PCM, TCM, or BCM for another vehicle is used instead of a new service module, or if module configuration was performed incorrectly. So again, this is an optional thing if your truck requires it. You can find out if you need to do that. If I say I hit cancel here, if we go ahead and go here, we disconnect and close out. And then we go back in. If we go through and reconnect, it will scan for our trouble codes again, and it will tell us if there's an issue or not. All right, so we've got still our trouble codes with the IPC. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as it's done reading the vehicle information, I'm going to clear out our trouble codes. But there was nothing, you know, with the PCM that you saw. So, like I said, I think it's a 2018 and later F150s that had this problem, but don't quote me on that completely. Alright, so we've cleared all of our trouble codes. The only ones I have left is lost communication with trailer brake control module in both of those, because like I said, it thinks there's a trailer brake control module, which there's not, but it's not coming up on my screen, so I'm not going to worry about it for now. So that's pretty much it. If you want to play around a little bit, you can be careful, but you can go in here to your module configuration for your IPC, and it will show you all of your different, obviously, options. So advanced track control, whole bunch of stuff here, all-wheel drive gauge. I mean, there's a million options you can have on or off. Boost vacuum display. So do you want to just see your boost, or do you want to see the vacuum and the boost? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. That's where you turn on. So in here you can change your total engine run time. It's in seconds. Total idle time, you can change that also. So again, you get that from your old display before you disconnect it. Put that in here. There's just a ton of stuff we can do. I know something a lot of people like to turn on is like your transmission temperature gauge. A lot of people like to turn on the temperature display, so it will actually show a numeric value. You can actually put, like you saw when I first put it in here, there will be numeric values above your gauges. That's just a personal choice. Again, I'm not going to run through all these features. It's mainly just to show you how to do it. But it's really an easy upgrade. So basically, you can see now, I basically have a Lariat level trim to my interior, minus the leather, which I hate. You know, with my upgraded steering wheel, my Lariat instrument cluster, my Sync 3 navigation system, which wasn't even available in 2015. I basically have a brand new truck for used truck money with a little bit extra thrown on top. So these are easy things you can do. Hopefully the video is helpful. If you have any questions for me, please leave a comment below. I try to answer all the questions that I can. I know sometimes this can seem a little scary, but you can do it. But I must put the disclaimer out there that I'm not responsible if you mess up your truck, because just like you can brick your iPhone, you could probably brick your truck too. So like I said, I wouldn't go just playing around with all these features. If you don't know what they do, just leave them alone. So until next time, be sure to like and subscribe for more F-150 videos. We'll see you later.